Hello and welcome to this fifth and last tutorial video for Nanobench. So in the last videos, we set up Nanobench and used it and then created a new template. That's the one I'm showing right here that allows us to introduce a new idea and publish it as an application. And then now we're going to come back to this view that we looked at in the first video. That is the NanoPub monitor with these different services. So as I've mentioned several times, Nanobench basically sits on top of these services and all its functionality comes from communicating to these services. So for example, we can look at one of the publishing services. So these dark yellow ones, sorry, that's a bit large, and go just through at the end of this long list of nanopublications. And unless somebody else has published something in the meantime, it's not the last nanopublication stored there. So you see that was the nanopublication we stored before with the template as specified here on the last line of the pub info in the yellow part by this template. There was also a nanopublication that we published just a bit before. So that's now all on these servers that are here. And now we can look into these servers down here with different green, blue, and purple shades of colors that allow us to query them. So I'm only going to demonstrate right now these here. So these are the signed versions of these services that cover only the signed nanopublications. But everything that comes out of Nanobench is signed anyway. So it will cover the nanopublications that we have been dealing with so far. So let's start from a very simple one that is based on LDF. So that stands for linked data fragments. So we have two here with this darkish blue color. I'm going to pick one of them. So here you are, that's all the interface basically. And it just allows you to search based on very simple triple patterns. So you can specify the subject, the predicate, the object, or the graph, and then it gives you all the triples it has. So in our case, for example, we could say we want to have the triples where this is the object, right? So that was the idea identifier from Wikidata. And it finds it 3 times. The first 2 are actually in the template that we had to update once, and this is the nanopublication we published, right? Where it says nanopub for arguments has type is an idea, and it's in the assertion. If we click on assertion, we get now we get the complete assertion. If you want to find the nanopublication for it, we can move that over to object, because then we get the triple that says which nanopublication has it as an assertion. So, and if we click on that, we get all the triples where the nanopublication is in the subject position. And we could, for example, we also find the provenance identified down here, and we can actually get the whole provenance out, right? So with a few queries, no, there was something went wrong here. Sorry, I have to click on it, otherwise that doesn't work. So I can move it to the graph. So that's the provenance that consists just of one triple here. So with just a few clicks and a few requests, we can explore this space. And all this, of course, typically can be done by a machine, by an algorithm. So you can, with a program, connect to this API and do these requests, right? So I'm just demonstrating here now what it looks like when you browse it manually. So that's a very simple one, but also one that's very performant, that scales well, and that gives you, can give you all the information, but typically you have to do a number of queries. So that's one way of accessing that, right? So you could use it also to connect it to your application if you want to build one that is based on this. Actually, one thing you might want to do, let's just go back quickly to our starting one. Where we search for that. So now we have just one here, right? And if we, on top of that, make this one, so we want to have only the triple where this is the predicate and this is the object. So then we get just one triple out. Or we could now try to publish another one. If we go to Nanobench and say we have, let's say you have another idea, for example, the idea would be, let's say, the online version of Nanobench. Right, that's not a bad idea, I think. Providing an online version of Nanobench. An online version of Nanobench would allow users to use it via the web without having to install it locally. Okay. Well, we could even, in this case, no, let's leave it like that. Let's publish it like that. And now if you go over here, if you search again, it will take a bit before it shows up, if everything goes well. So here we can see where it's already showing up in my channel. So it's not instant, but it's already picked up by some, and now it's here too. So you see that with this, we can easily integrate this knowledge from Nanobench into any kind of applications we have. So it's very much not a silo. Nanobench itself doesn't store anything. It goes all through this decentralized network. We can have another look at another service, this one. This is Garlic based. Garlic uses Sparkle to make also kind of a templating to allow for specific queries and then make an API out of that. That's relatively technical. You can look at it, but if you just remove the suffix part here and just do it like that, you're forwarded to an interface that's a bit more user-friendly. And you see you can do things like get all users. It gives you all the users with information like public key and date when they publish the introduction record. I can, for example, find here the oldest user, which happens to be me. And then you can do other things like similarly to what you saw in the previous interface, you can do here pattern-based search, so subject, predicate, object. There are some other parts here like day, month, and year. These are to filter by the time, so by the day and the month and the year. But they don't work as well, or they don't improve the whole system as much as I hoped. So they might actually disappear in future versions. But similarly, how we did it before, we can search for all the things that have the idea in object position. And we get again the results. So here, if we again want to have only the ones where there's a type link in the predicate, so you don't have the templates where it appears, then we get the two results we had before already. And you can do other things. You can also do text. So for example, if you search for argumentation, then you get the nanopublication we just published. Of course, if you type something else like use, you get other nanopublications. So it's, of course, a whole lot of other things out there that was published in that way. So that's the Garlic interface. As I said, it's also based on Sparkle. But if you want to have full Sparkle, you can also do that, as long as you restrict yourself to the signed subset, because otherwise it gets too slow. So if you go here, now you can write your Sparkle query, assuming you know a bit about that. So we can, for example, say that we want to get again all the ideas, right? Sorry, I is a idea, so that's a starting point. We get these two. We might also want to say that this idea has a name. All right, that's what we also have. And now here we need to see what we use the RDFS label. So just copy it in here. Oh, we also want to have it in the result. Here we go. And you can do more here. So one thing that's useful to figure out, for example, you might want to figure out which nanopublication is this part of, and then what is the provenance of it, for example. For that, there is an admin graph, and you can find it in this link. I also have in the description of this video. The documentation of this could be a bit better, but all these Sparkle endpoints have an admin graph that use this prefix. So let's go over here. So we have a graph that's an admin graph. So that has this structure. And in there, we have statements for each nanopublication. For example, I want to find whether something is indeed a nanopublication. So let's say we want to find the nanopublication, and it points us to the head graph. And now the head graph, as we can see, if we go to any of these nanopublications, if we go to this, so in order to show the head, we can go back to the original one. So in the head, we have things like has assertion, has provenance, etc. So we need to add the nanopub namespace. So again, all this should be documented a bit better, but I hope I can explain it well enough so you can make use of that as well. So in this head graph, then you can say the nanopublication has assertion, some assertion. Use a bit more space here. And then in that assertion, we have the statement. So with that, we can actually figure out what nanopublication we have there, right? And maybe let's just ask for all the fields, so we don't have to type it again. Now there was a problem before NP. That was because, check that out on line 7. Right, I have to actually state it like that, I believe. So, okay, has assertion is wrong because I did not specify the prefix, and now it actually works. So we see which nanopublication it has, the head graph. We might not be interested in that, assertion, argument, and the name. Now on top of that, what we could do now, we could go also in the admin graph and check whether this nanopublication has a valid signature. So we go here, it says has valid signature for public key, and we could actually figure out the pub key also. Execute, and then we would also get the public key here now, and this would allow us to check for other nanopublications this user has published, for example, etc. So if that, you see, it's quite powerful, and you can use all the power of Sparkle here to get what you want, and then use the output. So whatever you get out here, you can of course directly connect to that from any application you have, and make use of this space of nanopublications that anybody can contribute to via Nanobench or in other ways, right? So Nanobench is just one way to publish nanopublications, but you can also connect to this space, to connect to these nanopublications with other means. So if you have in your other tool, you can actually see here that, no, you don't even need to go there. In this case, most of these servers support actually posting nanopublications, so publishing them one by one. If you have larger amounts, that is a different issue that has to be handled differently that I cannot go into now. But that's not the scope here. What I wanted to show you, how we can now actually make use of these nanopublications through the query services. And I hope I gave you an idea and some starting points. So if you're interested in building something on top of that, that's where you can start. And as you see, for all of these queries, there are at least 2 services. So you can configure your applications that if one of them doesn't work, it has still a backup option. And the plan is to have more here. So this list should be extended both in types of services, but also in their numbers, so to make them more redundant and thereby make the whole network more reliable. So that's it. That was the last video of this series of Nanobench tutorials. I hope you've liked it, and I hope this gives you a good starting point to experiment with it if you want to. If there are any further questions, any follow-up, I'm very happy if you want to contact me directly. So thank you very much, Dan. Have fun and good luck with experiment with that, and goodbye.